Hey, welcome to the NewStart Discipleship tour of the members area. Tour of the members area. So I have a lot of pastors that are just getting started with NewStart Discipleship, and they need an overview of everything that's available. So I'm going to give you a tour of that really fast, and it's going to take about 20 or 30 minutes for me to walk through everything that's in this members area because it's a lot of stuff. And so if you're with New Start Discipleship, welcome. And I'm going to show you all the resources that are there where you can download them. New Start is a subscription-based service that provides discipleship materials, discipleship strategies, so that pastors, even of smaller churches or bivocational pastors, can produce discipleship materials with excellence faster than you could produce them on your own, that you can have a clear strategy instead of kind of winging it every time. And so that as I add more discipleship materials to this process, the goal is to have the first 2 years of a person's walk with God just mapped out. So it's flexible. You'll see all the different modules. And so we're going to walk you through exactly how New Start Discipleship solves the problem of unclear strategy, not a unified discipleship pathway, and solves it with professionalism and multipliability. All right, if that's a word, the ability to quickly and easily multiply and give away discipleship, so that you can take a person through, and rather than being dependent on your teaching gift or mine, it's something where you can move the teaching, move the process off into a predetermined path, and then you can become the biggest encourager for your disciples instead of having to figure out every time, what am I going to say today? All right. So that's what New Start Discipleship is. Let me show you what I mean. All right. So I'm going to share my screen right now. And that screen is going to show you the New Start Discipleship members area. Okay, so if you are in the members area, you'll get it when you subscribe to New Start. You'll get a login. That login will take you a place to create your membership or create your login. So you'll create that, and then you'll have a login link as well. And you'll go back to that login link every time you need to download more resources. So this is kind of where everything happens. This is where the sausage is made. Okay. So in the back end, you'll see this right here. First of all, there's a big download New Start Discipleship system now. This is a first round sort of download. It's a very large file because it contains the video and audio files for the New Start series. Those are also in another place, and I'll show you that. So if you don't want to download the whole ball of wax, don't use this link, all right? Because it's a huge file. Now, there are videos here that basically are kind of onboarding how to get the most out of New Start, and so how to get better deals on printing, how to encourage you to not go alone, and that sort of thing, all right? So you can full screen those and watch them. There's also, in that video, I mentioned a key resource that's been really helpful for me to talk about how to implement. So vision and strategy are great, but implementation and execution is really challenging sometimes. And so there's a 30-minute talk on how to do execution, how to get stuff done by Chris McChesney, based off of his book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. That is fabulous talk. And so it's 30-minute talk. It's there. I mentioned it in the video, so that's where you can find it. All right. So then there's after that video, there's a place where you can click here to order. Now, this link here is a secret link. All right. It is not something that anyone is allowed to use. So if you click through that place, it will show you where you can get all the members area rather than clicking it, because it'll show the URL. Rather than clicking that, I'll just tell you there you can order some of the resources which I print in advance. All right. So I print those 1,000 at a time. It gives you a huge discount. You are also welcome to print your own. So you can download any of these resources to your computer. And as long as you're a member, you can print and use infinite numbers if you want to do that. Infinite numbers of New Start resources. So if you want to launch it to your whole church for 100 people, you can print them all at your local Office Depot or on your home printer, and 3-hole punch them and put them in binders if you want. You have a license to do that. So it's kind of a white label sort of thing. I've even had people ask, can we take your logo off and put our church logo on? And the answer is Yeah, as long as you're a subscriber, you can do that. Now, obviously, everything is copyrighted. You do have to be a subscriber, but depending on what price point you're in at, you could be a subscriber and you could print as many copies as you want. So you can do that, or you can order them from me at a reduced cost. I think it's about $4 a book when you order them through me. And so that's definitely cheaper than you can print them on your own at home. All right. So, or you can go to a professional printer online and get them printed. You're welcome to do that. All right. Here I have a video on how to set up a new Christian texting system. So if you wanted to set up automated text messages that go out when somebody becomes a Christian, you can be like, hey, we have this pathway. We're going to have somebody contact you every day. Every day we're going to text you a link. Here's exactly what to read in the Bible today. And for your first 50 to 70 days of walking with God, here's how you can do that. This is going to show you exactly how to set up a system like that. Some churches want to, other churches don't. And so I just have it in there. Here's how you can do it if you want to do that. All right. So that's the first download of the NewStart system. I also have a sermon series here called How to Deal with How You Feel. That if you purchase that along with as a bonus, you're more than welcome to download those resources as well. And then here is where, in this area of the members area, this is how you can download the NewStart series. So I launched this at my church. I preached a whole series, what happened to me and all that. I'm just going to briefly show you how that looks. So if you click this download outlines, here are all the sermons from that series. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you click through those, you can actually go directly to, here's the notes that I used for that sermon, and here's the handout that I used. All right. So you can get all of that. You can also look at the PowerPoint you can download the PowerPoint if you want. It's taken a second for it to pull it up for some reason. But if you want to download that PowerPoint, you're welcome to do that. It's pulling it up in Google Slides. That's why it's taking a minute, because it's converting from PowerPoint. You can download it to your computer or use it. And so here are some slides. I use a lot of visuals. And then I talked about at the end my NewStart book and all that. So I use visuals a lot. I don't use a lot of words on PowerPoint slides. I like images to supplement what it is I'm saying and what's on their handout. So those are things. Not all of them have PowerPoints. Some do. And so you can pull up other pictures or other things. And I talk here about, I talk in the thing about Mount Everest. And so I use that image. So this is, all of those are those things. There's also a NewStart video intro. And so there's video promos that are there. And I'll just kind of briefly show you that whole process. So this is like a sermon bumper video. If you want to use that, it is available for you, and you can download it, use it at the introduction of your sermon, or if you don't care, there's actually 2 of them included in that. If you don't care to do that, you certainly don't have to, all right? And so there's also, you can download the sermons by MP3 or on video if you want to do that. I preached them during COVID, and so when you download them on a video, you'll see me preaching on a stage outside. We were doing drive-up church at that time. And so that was just kind of the way it was. I don't know if you remember COVID, man, but those were something else. Those days were amazing. I want to, so I have all of that available. So you can download that series. Here's why I include that. Some people are like, what do you have to preach this? Is it the same content as the workbook? No, it's not the same content as the workbook. It is a way to launch the entire thing to your church if you want to do that. So sermon 1 is called What Happened to Me. It's basically, what is salvation? You're adopted, you're forgiven, you are raised to new life, right? So we talk about God's salvation and what it means to be justified, to be regenerated, to be sanctified, and all of that. So, and justified, adopted. I think I said those words already. Anyway, so we talk about that and kind of walks people through what is conversion and all of that. So anyway, that is what that series is for. A lot of pastors that use NewStart are smaller church pastors. And sometimes they're bivocational, so they're working 30, 40, 50 hours a week and pastoring in their spare time. My goal is to provide guys like that, who are absolutely my heroes, to provide them resources that will lift the load while they're launching something, right? So if you're making a huge change in your discipleship strategy and you're trying to get something going, if I can help lift the load for you by taking 3 or 4 or 5 hours a week of sermon prep off your plate and helping you have a head start. By the way, you can edit any of those sermons. Please feel free, and don't worry about giving me credit. Okay. Just use it if it's helpful to you. And if it's not, no problem. Preach your own stuff, man. I'm great with that. So let's keep going on after that sermon series. I also have something called 40 Days of Holiness. It is a larger workbook. This is like this is not the second step in our process. It's actually several steps down the road, but it is a larger workbook that is 130 pages. And I preached a series. There's another copy of that workbook thing there. Here's kind of an introductory video. And this is where you can order the workbooks for yourself if you want to order them, maybe cheaper than you can print them at a local Office Depot. And then there is all the files, all the downloads. So you can download the cover. It actually splits into 2 parts. I explain all of that in the members area. Then there's also trailers, like trailers and video loops. So this is, for instance, if I was to pull up that trailer, you can download this. And if it's something that you want to announce or advertise at your church or advertise on social media, hey, starting this new series, 40 Days of Holiness, or Pursuing Holiness, we're starting it coming up real soon. You're welcome to download that and use it at your church. And so it is taking a minute because I'm using so much. Oh, it's trying to literally physically download it to my computer. Okay. I forgot that I set the link up that way. You're welcome to download those things. You're welcome to get them set to where there's also artwork, and you can download the introductory video for your sermon, the logo loop with clouds. You can download all of those things. So that all is there for you. The reason I provide that, a lot of churches don't use it. A lot of churches say, I don't really, maybe you don't use video at your church, or it's not a thing that you do. That is perfectly fine. You don't have to use it. It's not required. You can use the whole system without doing any of that. But my goal is, if I produce something from my church and it's something that I use, I just want to make it available. So it's available for you in the members area if you like that kind of stuff. And if you don't, no problem. Your mileage may vary, right? So I want to show you the rest of the things that are here. So there's sermons here. So I have some sermons. I preached a sermon series through the book of 1 Thessalonians, talking about the holiness that God provides and how that is worked out in our lives through the Holy Spirit, how he brings that to pass. I preached a couple of sermons of introduction at the beginning, and then I preached 1 Thessalonians 1, and you can watch all those. You can also download the sermon notes here. You can download the PowerPoints for some of them that I have. And so anyway, there's 7 sermons in that series through the book of 1 Thessalonians. Those are expositional type sermons. And you're welcome to use those if you like. I also have social media graphics. Let me just show you quickly what I'm talking about there. So I have these, quotes and things about the holiness of God. Some of them are from me or from sermons. Then other ones like, God does not come to us because we're holy. We become holy because God comes to us, right? So this is, it has the Pursuing Holiness logo and things like that. But these are things that if you want to do a 40-day campaign at your church to go along with holiness, right? You have, so here we go. It's regularized presence of an area in ourselves, which we still claim for our own. C.S. Lewis quote there. God is committed to bringing about the holiness that he has provided in Jesus. Some of these things are loading slow because my Zoom is going. There we go. God is committed to bringing about all the holiness he has provided. So he is committed to doing that in us, right? So these things are, holiness does not mean work salvation. It means salvation working, right? So all of these things, these are just like provided for you to provide people, like put it out there, let people share, encourage your church people, kind of keep that in front of them. So it's just a way that it's something we did. It's just a way that I try to provide extra resources. So if you want to launch this and go hard with it, you can do that. All right. So I want to show you some other things. So I have something called the prayer guidebook, which I don't think I have a copy of right here on my desk, but it's a prayer guidebook that you can download. So when you click it, it'll pull up the PDF in Google Drive. And that is just this is a little different than some of mine, is a 30-day prayer journal that provides some themed psalm selections from the Psalms. It is themed around adoration, and then kingdom, and then request, and then sanctification and benediction. So basically, this is like the structure of the Lord's Prayer. And so every day is just walking through that sort of thing. And so it's a collected prayers from Christian history. It is something that I look at as more, it's not so much of just a step on our discipleship process as it is when a church wants to say, hey, let's do something fresh on prayer. Here's a prayer journal that provides a structure. There's also a sermon series that goes along with that. So how to pray, ways to connect with God in prayer. And so those are provided. We also did a fasting and prayer series. It's where I did a call to fasting and prayer. We do that in January frequently at our church, and we'll do a 21 days or 40 days of fasting and prayer, encourage people to fast something. I preach a sermon on that, and here's that sermon where you can watch it. You can also download the sermon. Actually, I think I didn't use sermon notes on that one. I just preached out of Ezekiel's vision of the Valley of Dry Bones. And so then here's sample social media graphics as well. If you want to do a 40 days of fasting and prayer, here's sample sermon social media graphics that we used. So there's there's day 8, a verse, and then there's also a daily text, because that's something that we did. Whether we sent out a daily text message to our whole church family and just a reminder to pray and a daily prayer verse. And so that was how we did our 40 days of fasting and prayer. We've done that 3 or 4 times as a church. It's been really helpful. If you want to do something like that, it's just a way to help lift the load, provide resources. So if you don't have someone to do graphic work, hey, let me do it for you. All right. That's just something we provide. So also, Defending Your Faith course. So this is another one of our workbooks. It's a module of NewStart. This is, you can download the workbook there. There's also sessions so that if you want to do them in a small group Bible study or a Sunday school class, there are some people that wanted to do that. And so when you download those, when you go to those videos, you can watch this 37-minute video on Introduction to Apologetics, or you can also download it to your computer. Which is possible. You can click the download button link, which is right here, and you're welcome to download that video to your computer so you can show it. If you don't have internet at your church, you can show it separately if you want to use that. So it shows a variety. It's just 9 sessions on how to defend your faith, evidence for the Bible, evidence for the resurrection, arguments for the existence of God. So that if that's helpful to some of your people, it's not what I use as my second step. I'm going to show you how this all lays out in a little bit, but I'm just working my way right down the resources that are provided in the members area. All right. After that is after the Defending Your Faith course, there's also what I call Getting Started with Discipleship. So there is a workbook there. Oh, I made it to where it opens in the same window. So, all right. So this workbook here is 10 sessions on how to get started with discipleship at your church. So discipleship clarity is part 1. Get clear on what you're trying to produce, get a disciple-making mindset, how to make your entrance and pathway clear, planning your communication. It's just kind of walking through, and all of that is included in the NewStart Discipleship system. So if you need some coaching, and I'm going to have to log in to my members area. Let's see. Let's go right here and log in. There we go. Now I'm back. All right. So we're down to the Getting Started with Discipleship coaching. So these are all sessions. All right. So the sessions, and there's also QR codes. Get clear on what you're trying to produce, make your entrance and pathway clear. So all of those things are available in the members area if that's helpful for you. Otherwise, you're welcome to just download resources and get started. But there would be some helpful tips there on, how to get your first 3 disciples, using your worship service to promote discipleship, planning to multiply from the beginning, all of those kinds of things. Now, I also provide a thing called the Habits Masterclass. So the Habits Masterclass is a workbook that I created as a course. I started as a sermon series at my church, and I said, now I want to create a course on how to break old habits and develop new ones. And I turned that sermon series into a course. You can also download the sermon series as well. But this is this is the video, this is the workbook. So you can use that for new Christians or for a Sunday school class or a small group, however you want to use that. And there are basically 6 sessions in that. Be clear about what you're trying to do, change your beliefs, rewire your triggers, harness your emotions, recruit help, and keep going. All right. So all of those things. The baptism challenge is another piece of the puzzle, and it's one of the steps, which I'll show you. Again, I'll show you the layout for how we do that at our church, but these are all modular. They can be exchanged and moved around. So if you got a brand new Christian who's like, hey, I'm really struggling with, how do I know if this is my faith is really real? Okay, you could take them to defending your faith, talk about the evidence. Or if they're struggling with like, hey, our baptism Sunday is coming up in a month, you can take them straight to the baptism challenge. So let me show you that. All right. So you can download the workbook if you want. This workbook it runs about like all of my other resources. There are QR codes that if you want to scan those, if your new believer wants to scan those, it will actually take them to it'll take them to a video that looks like this. So this is day 3. If they scan the QR code on day 3, it would take them to this video, and there would be a brief video roll in, and then there would be teaching. So there's a 3-minute teaching video that takes place there. And at the end of that, it transitions to today's challenge. All right. So today's challenge is make a list of friends and acquaintances to pray for and invite to your baptism. So in the little workbook that you give them, there's a place for them to write down and pray over their friends. So there's a thing about what baptism means. Here's the scripture of the day, all of that. And so they can go through, that's how that works. So if they scan day 1, they'll go to day 1, etc. All right. So that's how those workbooks look and how they work. Now, they're also, the baptism challenge is also available. There are graphics. So there are social media graphics that you can give to your new believers, and you can share, coming up baptism. Here's my baptism. And so then one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and ask me about my baptism, and my baptism Sunday is coming up. So those are things that we give out to people who are about to be baptized at our church. And we say, hey, I'm going to send you this. I'm going to share this and tag you about our upcoming baptism. Would you share it and comment and whatever? And it just kind of is a way to spread. It's a way to be a witness, right? So some people on their social media may be like, oh, cool, they're getting baptized. And it's a way for them they comment, and then they can, if they comment, say, congratulations, your person who's your new Christian can reply and say, hey, why don't you join me? I'd love to go. Would you come and be there? So anyway, it's just a way to promote that. And so there's also a Google Doc. Here's a baptism sermon that I preached. So if people want a baptism sermon, you can do that. And then there's a separate baptism sermon there. And then there is a logo loop for baptism, the baptism challenge. So if people want to, if they want to have something on their screen during their baptism Sunday, or use it on Facebook, social media, they can do all those kind of things. All right. So those are just again resources that I provide to be able to raise opportunities and visibility and professionalism without you having to do everything. That's the way I like to roll. Okay. So baptism challenge is that. Then there's discipleship in the home resource notebook. Okay. So there's an audiobook that is available for free. I asked Dr. Matt Friedman, who wrote the book Discipleship in the Home, I asked him if he would let me record an audiobook and give it away to my NewStart people. And he said he would. So I did. So there's an audiobook there, and you're welcome to use it for yourself, or you can send people to download it at discipleshipinthehome.com. They can download it for free. And so they're welcome to do that. Additionally, there is a resource notebook that goes along with this. Normally, I charge for it, for people to download it. If people just download it for, off my website or whatever. But for you, it's free. All right. All you got to do is print it off and give it to them. So if you got people with kids, talk about our family, my family, Dr. Friedman's family. We know what we're talking about because we have big families, and our children we're trying to teach our children to walk with the Lord. Dr. Friedman's ahead of me on that. His kids are older now. But if you want to know how you can use that, here is, I took the appendices of his book, which is helpful lists of things, and I turned it into a resource notebook. So you can your people can scan that right there, and it will take them directly to a page where they have samples of 50, I think it's 55 or something like that, great hymns from Christian history and their performances. They can just put it, and there's a congregationally singable version of that hymn that your family could sing together around the dinner table as you're coming together for dinner. So our family does that sometimes, not every week, but we do it sometimes as we're gathering together, and we'll sing a great song. There's the collection of hymns. Here's great prayers of Christian history. So all of these prayers, some of them from Scripture, there's the prayer of St. Francis. There's St. Augustine's prayer, his conversion prayer, his prayer to know Christ. Te Deum Laudamus, which is a beautiful prayer of praise to the Lord. There's Paul's prayer, Daniel's prayer, Hezekiah's prayer, St. John Vianney's prayer, John Wesley's covenant prayer. Fantastic stuff that are great to memorize. And so kids can do that. Anyway, just showing you the whole picture of what's included in that. So then there's just great quotes from Christians in the past. So here's Here I Stand by Martin Luther, that his famous speech at the Diet of Worms, unless I'm convinced by the testimony of scriptures and clear reason, here I stand, God help me, right? There's that whole thing. The Voice of One Who Wept by Martha Nicholson, beautiful poem there. Oh, give me that book. I want my kids to know that quote from John Wesley, right? Not Called, did you say, by William Booth? So you get the idea. All these things. That's My King by S.M. Lockridge. So then there's the creeds of the church, the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the Athanasian Creed, and Irenaeus's summary of the gospel. So all of these things are just provided, and then there's lists of books and stuff like that. You get the idea. It is a marvelous resource for people who want to disciple their children. If you want to raise Christian kids and you want your church people to raise Christian kids, put tools in their hands. Put handles on discipleship. And this is the way you can do it. There's an ESV version, there's a KJV version, and there's an NIV version. I literally took the exact same content and just swapped out the resources. There's a whole scripture memory program in there with videos and narrations of it. And it's all customized in 3 different versions. So whatever your church uses, go for that. And then there is a sermon resources. Again, I preached a message series, 4 sermons on raising kids. And again, I've got the PowerPoint. All right. So there's PowerPoint for that. And so it's called Raising Kids, Training Children Who Soar. And I talk about this is from Deuteronomy 6. And so I talk about the mezuzah and all of that. So I use those images. Now, I do want to say that a lot of these things, they have handouts. All right. So how to praise your children. And this is that one was a very simple message that I used, how to praise your children and praise the character that you see, how to give your children compliments and raise them positively. So anyway, that is a practical series that you can use. Additionally, I want to show you the other sets of things. So that's all the discipleship in the home stuff. And then obedience challenge. So this is what I actually use for step 2 we use the NewStart Discipleship Journal, and then we use the obedience challenge. So you can download the workbook there. Again, it is just like the other workbooks in the series, very, very similar. People can scan day 1, and it takes them directly to a video that will show them. In fact, I'm going to go to it. Obedience challenge /day 01. This is what they will see popping up. So obedience challenge day 1. Here's the video for the day, teaching video. Here's where they can click through and read. I've got a quick summary of the book, so some helpful resources down further. So they're starting, this is Matthew 1 on day 1, right? And we focus in on one, in the obedience challenge, we focus in on one command of Jesus every 2 days. Jesus said, here's what discipleship means: baptizing them and teaching them to observe everything I've commanded you. So step 1 is the obedience, is the NewStart Discipleship Journal, and we do the obedience challenge. What are Jesus' commands? You ought to obey them. Here they are. And so we walk through those. And then step 3 is the baptism challenge. So that's what that looks like when they scan through. And here is the rest of the stuff. So I have sermons that were preached, some of the sermons that we preached during that series, because we did a series called Who Is This Jesus? That we preached through a sermon that they were about to read that week. All right. So it was like, here's something you're about to read while we're getting started today on this 90-day journey through the Gospels. By the way, there are 89 chapters in the Gospels. So we launched it to our whole church, gave everybody a copy of the Obedience Challenge workbook. Here's why we did that. We said, I want to give a copy of the Obedience Challenge workbook to our whole church because I want you to be familiar with it, because someday we're going to have a brand new Christian that gets saved. And I'm going to say, hey, Bob, come here. Bob, this is Bill. Bill just gave his heart to the Lord today. Jesus has saved him. So Bill, welcome to the family of God. This is Bob. You guys are going to be together for the next, just the next year. He's going to be your mentor. I want you guys to exchange cell phone numbers. And Bob's going to be your guy who's reaching out and saying, hey, how you doing today? How can I pray for you? What did God talk to you about in your Bible reading today? Because Bob's literally been through all the things that you're about to do, Bill. We're going to walk with you, and we're going to make sure that you have every chance to be successful at walking with Jesus. All right. So that's how that goes. And so that's the reason why we launched it to our whole church. So there's series artwork there, and there's an obedience challenge promotional trailer. Again, so all these things are just part of the picture. There's something I supply. If you want to do it, you can put this on Facebook and invite people. Hey, got a brand new series starting this coming Sunday, the Obedience Challenge. What would happen if you obeyed Jesus for 90 days? So let's climb the summit together, right? Let's obey the commands of Jesus. So anyway, that is what we worked through there. Now I'm going to show you moving from me to we. This is another step, and then I'll show you a couple of final things will be done. So you can download the workbook here. It's structured very much like the other workbooks. The content of moving from me to we is about what membership means. All right. And what membership means in my view is belonging to the church by obeying the one another commands. All right. So love one another, serve one another, confront one another, speak to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, right? All the one another commands of Scripture, I pulled all those out and made a 40-day journey out of it, all right? So there's a sermon series that I did. Again, there's also a sermon trailer, a bumper, because I used it here at my church. And so you get a chance to be talking about moving from me over to we. And so there you go. So that just simple stuff that if I can help to raise the bar for you and provide resources, you can put that, you can use it in your worship service if you want to intro the sermon that way. On the other hand, if that's not your thing, put it on social media and say, coming up this Sunday, right? So it's just a way to try to do that. How to pray the Psalms, resources. So this is coming up. It is currently not there. but it is coming up. I'm actually finishing it out. I've had it already finished, and I lost a bunch of work. So frustrating. Lost a bunch of work that I had done on it. So it is coming up. This one's going to be done very, very soon. And so, in fact, it should be done by the time you see this. It should be done within 30 days after this. And so that's what we're doing right now. That's what I'm working on right now. Now, let me go back up to the beginning and just say the whole New Start system, everything, I'm going to continue adding to this. So another thing I have coming up is called the Gospel Challenge. It's a series through the book of Romans to understand the gospel, because there are so many false gospels out there, right? Like, the problem with people being like, yeah, I got saved when I was 12 and now I never think about it, right? But I know I'm going to heaven. Like, that's not what God intends by salvation. That's not what salvation means, right? Salvation is not something we work for, but it is something that works. And so providing that and walking through the book of Romans, also the prosperity gospel, such a spurious, heretical sort of thinking that everything is salvation is all about, gospel is all about making your life better. And it's not. It's so much deeper than that. God's remaking you, and he's remaking the world. And so I'm super excited about that. It's coming out, should be in the spring of 24. So that's coming out. When that happens, as long as you remember, your price never goes up. I just add it to the members area, and I'll add all the stuff, the trailer and the workbook and the sermon resources, the whole 9 yards just goes in the members area to help lift the load for busy pastors like yourself. All right. So that's everything included in that, except for one thing. This is so brand new that I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to transfer to my phone. All right. So I'm going to join audio. And